There is a provision in Obamacare that requires members of Congress and their staff to get their health care via Obamacare, via the exchanges. And the story we had, if you recall, was how many members of Congress, but mostly their staff, could not afford it. And some of these people are making over $100,000 a year. And it was a story, I don't have it at my fingertips here, but I remember it like this was yesterday. There was real panic among members of the staffs of senators and congressmen over having to give up their current health care plan and move in to Obamacare. Part of the Obamacare plan was that members of Congress could have to do it. They were going to be at one with the people. They were not going to have their separate Cadillac plan to show that they were just like us. You know, the equivalent of Mitch Snyder sleeping on a sewer grate in the wintertime for solidarity with the homeless. Well, so were members of Congress and their staff going to have to get their health care insurance through the exchanges. And the story 3 to 4 weeks ago was a real heart-tugger, folks. I mean, it was three handkerchiefs. The tears, the paper was wet when I came out of the printer about how these poor people couldn't afford it. And something was going to have to be done. Something was going to have to be done because members of the ruling class were not going to be able to afford health insurance if they had to do what we had to do. Never mind that many Americans aren't going to be able to afford it. That's fine. That's okay. But members of Congress, it's just not fair that they shouldn't afford it or their staffs. So the upshot of this is Obama solves health care problem for lawmakers and staff. And it's from roll call. Just a day after Obama told Senate Democrats he had personally engaged in the issue of his signature health care law's effect on lawmakers and their staff, it appears there's a solution. What a coincidence! Word began circulating around Capitol Hill that the Office of Personnel Management soon issue guidance to address the way the health care law's exchanges affect members of Congress and those employed in their offices. Senate aides initially declined to discuss the matter, but Harry Reid confirmed the existence of a deal while he was leaving the Capitol late yesterday, and a White House official confirmed details of the plan later last night. Basically, the Office of Personnel Management needed to determine that the federal government could help pay the cost of premiums on the exchanges for congressional employees. So, the solution is that congressional employees are going to qualify for subsidies so that they can afford Obamacare. Essentially, Obama ordered the Office of Personnel Management to give Congress and its staffers a taxpayer subsidy for their premiums. Now, the salary for congressmen, $174,000 a year. The average staffer's salary is over $70,000, and many of them earn almost as much as congressmen. So just one day, folks, after Obama promised the Senate Democrats in a closed-door session that he would give them an Obamacare carve-out, the Office of Personnel Management is saying that it's going to provide taxpayer subsidies to Congress and their staff so that they can afford the Obamacare premiums. Now, bear in mind, the salary for rank-and-file congressmen, again, $174,000 a year. The average staffer's salary is over $70,000. That's average. That means there are a lot of people above that. This is being reported, by the way, on a blog. It's not in a newspaper. This is on the Roll Call blog. And it has finally bled over now to the Politico. But the mainstream media is nowhere near this. Now, if a Republican president had given Congress a way around his signature legislation, it'd be the biggest story since soldiers put panties on the heads of prisoners at Abu Ghraib and made them do a pyramid. Now, you want to know what the subsidy is currently? The subsidies to congressmen and their staffs is 75% of their total health care cost. As a result of the deal, the subsidy will continue as is. So, 2 days ago, there was panic on Capitol Hill because members of Congress and their staff, some, were not going to be able to afford Obamacare. They weren't going to be able to afford the premiums. I'll never forget that original story. It was incredible because these are people who were involved in writing the law. These are people involved in writing the law, and they make way above the national average, and they make way above the national mean salary. Way above it. And they were whining. And the story was about how they were panicking. Yes, they were afraid of a brain drain because these brilliant people were not going to be able to afford the premiums, and they might have to leave government because in order to get health care, this just wasn't right. I mean, it fit right in with this model that's been created, the ruling class versus the country class, and the ruling class, the hell if they're going to be bound in the same constraints we are. The hell if they're going to live the same way we do. They're better than we are. They're above us. They're elitists. They're cut above. They shouldn't have to have these kinds of pressures. They're important. They don't need these kind of distractions. These are really important people, these members of Congress and their staff. And they ought not have to have this kind of fear in their daily job because it's too important. They ought not have these distractions. And they actually complained about it. Let you complain about something and you're called greedy. Let you complain about your taxes or a proposed tax increase and they call you greedy and selfish. The subsidies are also available to regular American people, but the subsidy cap is $94,000 on a family of four. The caps have been all of these people, regardless, are going to get a 75% subsidy. They're getting a subsidy that nobody else gets, essentially.